Hello, Moral, and welcome to Speaking of Everything. And for the first time on Speaking of Everything, I have a very, very, very interesting young man. He's none other than Mr. Juman. How are you doing, sir?
I'm all right. Thank you for having me, Oral.
Great to have you in the program. And your first name is?
Ramzan.
Ramzan. All right.
Yeah.
Now, what your friends call you?
Ramzan, basically.
You don't have a nickname?
Well, I mean, at work, it would be RJ or something like that. But it's mainly Ramzan for the most part,
right,
especially in St. Martin, yeah.
All right. So we kind of formal on the show, so we will just say Juman. That's okay?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Good. So how things going, man?
Everything is fine. I can't complain. Whenever people ask me that question, I say better than I deserve, because, most people, there are a lot of people that could be in worse, situations and stuff like that.
And I know that you also a cancer survivor.
Yeah. I had cancer when I was in high school in 2004. And then again, I had it in 2007. So the cancer had metastasized to the lungs. And on both occasions, I was very fortunate. I had a very supportive family. I had some good doctors, and God was on my side as well. So I was able to survive it twice. And since then, I would say I've been free and clear,
You're a lucky man.
Yeah. The numbers, I recently looked at the numbers, and it says that 15% of people with osteosarcoma, which is the cancer I had, are alive 5 years later. I'm here 20 years later, so I really am a lucky man, and I'm aware of that. Every day is a gift,
I know your mother always speaks about that too.
Yeah. And the numbers, and when I found out those numbers, imagine if I said, you're sick, 85% chance of dying, I'm like, you'd be like, well, I'm basically a dead man. That's what you're not going to think, you're not going to cling to that 15%.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah. But you went on to study at the University of St. Martin, right?
Yeah. So after I finished high school, which was a task in and of itself, right? At some point, I even wanted to drop out of high school.
What high school you went to?
Academy, St. Martin Academy. Yeah. So because for the cancer time, the second time I had cancer, a few months later I broke my leg. So I broke my leg in 3 places.
Wow.
At the school, and then 2 months later I had cancer in both of my lungs, right? So for me, it was like, at the time I remember reading in the newspaper, while I'm at home, that USM was offering, a GED program, and it's meant for people with who had endured great hardship or for some reason or the other couldn't finish high school. And I read that and I was like, oh, that sounds like me. Yeah. That's for me, right? And I think the counselors at the school had called and asked, hey, when are you coming back? And I kind of said, well, I'm not coming back. I'm just gonna, just do the GED. And the counselors came and kind of convinced me to go back to school. All right. And after that, I worked for a little while, and eventually I went to USM.
So you went to USM, and you understand you worked 2 jobs while you at USM? Yeah.
Well, so I worked, honestly, I can't think of a time I didn't have 2 jobs. Even right now, I have more than 1 job, right? But I worked at the school as a work study. I assisted my mother with her website as well. And I did odd jobs.
You built the site too?
I built that website, yes. And the one before it as well, I played a role. So the site has had different versions and iterations over the years, and I did the technical side of it as well.
I can see the improvement as you went along too.
Yeah. Even we've talked about improving it even further, but the design is just so easy and familiar that you can't really push it too much further, right? But the website is one thing that and even to this day I still assist with that. And I have done that. I went to USM. I studied there. I worked at USM as well, doing a work study position in the lab there, the IT lab and the computer lab there. And then I had other odd jobs. For a while, I worked security at Gramache, that area there. Wow. Yeah, so I did that for a while as well.
So how was that like?
It was a good experience. I can't say I was grateful for the opportunity. I learned a lot. I mean, and I would say it even translates, right? Because right now, like, cybersecurity is I'm working in technology, and another version of security.
That's good. So you did all of that, but then you wasn't satisfied, right? You wanted more.
Well, it's funny because I think that's a driving force even up to this day, right? So after I finished USM, I actually got a scholarship at USM to study for teaching. That's why I went to USM for. At the time, I was the only male candidate in the teaching course, right? So I was granted a scholarship. And
you
then,
was there before Stuart Johnson?
Right after him. After him. So in my year, I was the only guy. Okay. Stuart was the only guy in his year. Yeah. So and then I think there was also Leonard Wilson, which is another guy that was there as well. But and for my year, I was the only guy in the class. So I was granted a scholarship. And then while I was there, Monroe College came around. Around that time, Rhoda Arundel was the Minister of Education. So Monroe came around and started talking about the programs they had. And I realized that, I had more of a passion for technology, right? I had started building websites and stuff at 16, 17, right? So I always had that drive for technology. So I eventually, I also did the numbers. I mean, I thought it would be better if I just went to Monroe instead.
It was a lot cheaper than the other schools, right?
Yeah, it was cheaper than amazingly it was cheaper than UVI. When I looked at the UVI per semester was like $6,000 to $7,000, but Monroe had offered a scholarship of like $4,000 a semester, right? So that bring down the cost of tuition quite a bit. So I just had to pay to stay in the dorms and then pay the school fees, and that really didn't come up to much. Compared to that $7,000 price tag,
I think they have a campus now in St. Lucia, right?
Yeah, they do. Back then they did as well, but I always had it in my mind that when you study in IT, you want to be in the thick of it.
Right, definitely.
So, I eventually went to Monroe, and I did pretty well there. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you that USM prepared me a lot for that, right? Because Monroe is an American school, and there's a lot of multiple choice questions. Here, it's not no multiple choice. It's either you know the answer or you don't. Right. I'm going to ask you a question, and then there's a blank space and no clues as to what the answer is.
I prefer that.
Right? Yeah. It's either you know or you don't.
Right.
You can't get no 25% chance of getting it right by guessing. Right. So coming from USM and going to Monroe, Monroe was somewhat easier because USM just made things harder. They expected more of you, right?
That's interesting.
And a lot of people are surprised with that, and even people kind of look down at USM over the years because of the funding, and they're in the news in that way, right? But for me, the teachers at USM were great, and I had a good time at USM. I really enjoyed my time at USM.
So you're at Monroe, and you decided you're gonna study IT?
Yeah, I did a bachelor's in information technology at Monroe, and I graduated there. So the funny thing with Monroe is that Monroe had the degree, but then if they tied a lot of their courses to certifications. Okay. Right. So if you do like hardware and software, you can, if you study a little extra, you can get a free voucher and do the A+ certification exam, CompTIA, right? Yeah. And I'm coming from a little island. That's like a really big opportunity. That certification, one of those exams, is $360. Wow. To this day, it's gone up in price now, but that's like you saying to me, hey, if you do well in this class, I'm going to give you $500. And I'll be like, well, I already was planning to do good, so I'm more motivated, right? So since all the classes were tied to certifications, I graduated with 5 or 6 certifications in my hand, along with a degree, right? And I honestly, I took advantage. I need to, like, you giving me opportunity, I'm gonna take advantage of these opportunities. As a matter of fact, I remember the first certification I did was like the second semester at Monroe. They had some vouchers that were about to expire for Security Plus, and I remember the teachers were like, hey, listen, Ramzan, we have vouchers here. If you guys want to take it, you don't have to pass. It's in 5 or 6 days, the test, right? So I'm like, okay. And she's like, listen, it's a nervous type of setting. You're inside a room, kind of like here with a camera, and the people are looking at you to make sure you're not cheating. There are cameras in the whole room. And this is kind of going to break you into that high pressure situation, right? Yeah. So it's only 5 or 6 days. We don't really expect you to pass, right? And the voucher is going to go in the garbage if you don't take it. So she gave me the voucher, right? And I went and I kind of looked at the thing, and I didn't do Security Plus yet. I didn't do that class yet. Yeah. That was like next year or the following year. So I looked at the textbook. I downloaded that textbook, and when I downloaded that textbook, I read the book within the 5 or 6 days, right? I read the entire, it's like 600-700 page book, but I had like a way of reading it. Basically, I looked at the questions at the back of the book, and if I can answer the question, I skipped that part. That means I already know it, right? And then the questions I didn't know, I read those sections, right? And I breezed through, and I got time now to do the exam, and I passed.
That's good.
You know how surprised the teachers were? They were like we expected you to fail. And because I passed that class, I didn't have to do the Security Plus class the following year, and I saved money on that.
That's good.
So for me, that's like a good way of like looking at how I did the thing, right?
You see what I said earlier, that you're amazing in that you wasn't satisfied, you was more, because most young people today, man, they're not like that. You know, they want to breeze through everything, and there's not that.
Well, nothing worthwhile is going to come easy. That's what you need to realize. If you want something, you have to go for it. And in this case, it was funny because I know at that time there was a student that cheated during that test. So the same way I got my own, he cheated and he failed. And it was 3 or 4 of us that got the voucher, and he showed someone that he had like a cheat paper or whatever he was cheating. And the other students complained, and it came up in the class later on, like, listen, so-and-so cheated, and look at this other guy, he studied and passed, and there's no shortcut to success. That's what they're trying. They use it as their own, thing, but the teachers were very upset about
the cheated part, right?
Yeah, because if he got caught, it would make the school look bad. You know what I mean? So yeah, but
so you went on from Monroe to any other school after that?
Well, after I finished Monroe, I wanted to get some, because you get a work permit for like 3 years because you're in a STEM student, science, technology, engineering, and math. So I fall into that category, and I worked for like a year, right? And eventually, I always had it in my mind I wanted to do my master's degree. So I eventually went and looked at different colleges to do the master's degree. But at that time, Monroe came back and was like, hey, listen, since you did your studies here is an extra $2,000, $5,100 every semester off your master's degree.
Can't pass that one.
So I was like, I did have a good time at Monroe. Why not?
Yeah.
So I went back to Monroe and I did my computer science degree there. It's a master's degree in computer science. That degree is... because I did all those certifications, I didn't learn as much in that degree. If I had to go back and change something, I might say choose another subject. Do cybersecurity, do telecommunications, do something else, right? Not computer science, but I can't say that it wasn't a good experience or I didn't learn nothing. Hindsight is always 20/20. So if I had to go back, I might do something slightly different, right? But I still appreciated it. Not many people can say they have a master's degree, and it's an opportunity that I am so grateful for.
It's amazing because I'm doing this show, and over the years, people will meet me on the street, and they'll say, you know what? You're speaking with him, you're interviewing him, he said something, and you didn't ask him, and I know they're gonna kill me tomorrow. So I said to you earlier how your mother talk about you and everything, that your cancer survived and everything else. And they're sitting there, who is his mother? He didn't mention his mother.
So my mother is Bibi Shaw. She's SMN News basically is what she's known for. She's a journalist. She's been here for a very long time. Very much a part of the community. And that is my mother, right? A lot of my success can be attributed to my mother. She's always been pushing me, always motivating me, always supporting me, for 100%.
That's a good mother.
Definitely. You can't ask for anything more.
All right, so now, everyone, don't meet me tomorrow and kill me. For sure. It's amazing because when I saw the piece of you in the paper, online from the university, there's an interview with you at USM. I saw.
Yeah.
And you're also working. Where's those pictures taken?
That was taken in a data center for my job.
In the States?
In the U.S. Yes. Okay. At the time, those pictures at the data center were. So those pictures, they're not gonna be many pictures of me at work. That was a complaint somebody had.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, friends, they don't ever see a picture of me at work. You know.
Oh, okay. I found it was interesting.
Yeah, it was because and I did like a little video to show them how I go to work.
Yeah.
And when you walk into that data center, it's like, okay, you have to do your card, and then you type in your number, and then you go to another door, do the card again, and you do your eye scan or you do your fingerprint scan to get in. It's not just, oh, well, I knock on the door and I get in, or I just open the door with my keys and I walk in, you know? And then even then, when you go in, you have to have a pair of keys to get into where you want to go to see, or a code to get into see what you got to do, right?
But that code is going to identify you as a person.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like, I come in, I put my ID card, I type in the code, I walk in. That's the first door. And when you walk into the first door, there's nothing there. Really, it's just like an area for people to eat lunch, right? If they are busy with work. And then you go in to the data center, you have to know, same card, and you do your fingerprint. And then you go in. And then when I have to look for the cabinet that I'm going to work on, and then have a different code, all the cabinets have different codes, and you have to know the code for that cabinet to get into that cabinet to work on it. So, it's a data center environment, and a lot of the work that happens at that environment is in the middle of the night when no one is there. Because if it's a business,
and there's
right?
less traffic too.
Yeah, less traffic. Yeah. So you when you go in there, I'm not gonna reboot a server for like Wynwood Islands Bank as an example. You can't do that in the middle of the day when everybody's working. Yeah. You gotta do that like 12 o'clock in the night when no one knows, you know, that you did it. Right. But, so yeah.
Very few people will be doing online banking.
Online banking,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. In case you've just joined us, I'm Earl Gibbs here and speaking about everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. My guest is Mr. Ramzan Juman. He is an IT specialist here in St. Martin. He's back home working hard. When we come back, we're going to speak some more with you, all right?
Yep.
It's just right here on Speaking of Everything.
We are vibrant, expressive, warm, and diverse. Together, we conquer, and now we expand into new horizons, giving you more of the best. Introducing our new Bankomatico Plus with wider acceptance, purchase protection, and enhanced security. Whether you're online, traveling, or in paradise, experience more with Wynwood Island Bank. Bankomatico Plus, more of the best.
My guest on Speaking of Everything is Mr. Juman. He's an IT specialist, and we're here speaking with him on Speaking of Everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. So you're back home here now. Are you going to stay, or are you going to go back? Or are you walking from home back and stuff?
Well, I am. I'm kind of blessed in that way because in my opportunity, because I can work from home. So I decided to work from home.
Yeah.
Here, right? So I'm doing that for now, and taking up remote work for as long as I'm allowed to.
How is the internet connection affecting your work?
Well, we use Starlink right now.
Oh, okay.
But even then, in French Quarter, we have normally on the French side we have really great fiber. But
really?
Yeah, well, not in French Quarter. I said the French side, but not French Quarter yet. You know, so we had to use Starlink for the time being.
How's that?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good for what it is. You know, it's much better than what we had before, which was Coral at the time.
Okay. Did you ever apply to Telem for a job?
No, I haven't. I have not applied for Telem for a job. Because I honestly don't think I could help in any way, really.
Really?
Yeah.
Why you feel like that?
Okay, so Telem is a good subject, right? I would say, right? Because Telem, 10 years ago, what was Telem offering? Telem was offering 2 megs download speed for $50, right? Let's just say that. And 10 years have passed. And what are they offering now, right? 25 megs download, all right, for $65. That's the base. That's what they offer, the lowest tier.
Right.
So you would say, well, Telem has improved a lot. The speed is like 12 times more.
Boy.
Right? It would look like that, right? Yeah. It was amazing, right? All right. Okay. I'll give you that. Telem has improved in a vacuum a lot, right? And they're offering 12 times more speed for only $15 more, right? Now, what about a friend side? You know, what were they offering 10 years ago? They were offering 20. That's much like what Telem is offering right now.
Right.
And they were offering it for 49, the same price.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's 43. 43 is what they were offering. I know because I paid that bill, right? I know. So, and it was a Dolphin Telecom. That's what we were talking about, right? And what are they offering now, right? 1,000. All right, that's the speed, 1,000.
Yeah.
And it's $53. That's the price now, and that includes phone, right? So, Dolphin Telecom, their speed is 50 times more than 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's cheaper than Telem right now, even.
Well, not only that, the thing is that you get fiber from Telem, and then it just goes dead on you every other day or what have you, and then the speed that you're paying for, you're lucky if you get 25% of that sustained, because it's crazy, you know. And I've spent most of my life complaining about TLM, and then they tell me I'm the only one complaining, but because I need speed for my business, most people just need it just to
surf the web.
Yeah, right.
So but I don't think you're the only one complaining, right? Because why is BTP saying people can't have Starlink, right? People are leaving. I want to make something clear, right, so that everybody understands this. Not people, and most people are not going to understand what I'm saying here. Starlink is not a service that's meant for home use. Okay, it's not a service that's meant for I'm going to have it at my house, right? If you go to Starlink, Starlink themselves will tell you that hardline internet, which is fiber and DSL, like what people get through their phone line, if that is available in your area, cable internet, hardline internet, they will tell you, get that. Do not get Starlink. In St. Martin, though, the hardline internet is so bad that people are getting the satellite internet, right? So that's why I said I really can't help in any way. I'm not going to go there and apply for a job and know that I can't do nothing, right? So I will tell you right now that Telem, even Telcel, right? If I were in that position, Telem has to upgrade their infrastructure, right? Their fiber is meant to have low latency and high speed. When I tell you that they're offering 25, okay.
It's just the opposite of
that. They're offering probably low latency but low speed, you know what I mean? Right? So that's what it's meant for. But here's the funny thing. You might say, oh, well, the French side is France, so it's different. What about Sabre? Sabre is $50, and they're offering 250 down, 50 up. They're offering 10 times the speed for less money, right? So why can't we do that? I would say we bring in more money than Sabre. I would say that Telem should sell the Telcel business because they cannot sustain. That's not even doing well.
I told the Prime Minister here 2 weeks ago they should just sell the company, period.
I would sell the Telcel business to Digicel, right? Because it's the more you buy, the more you get, right? So the cheaper price, you'll be able to negotiate like that, right? So Digicel, as an example, buys a bunch of towers all the time. They buy antennas all the time. They set this up all the time for different islands. So they can do like a bulk purchase.
That's throughout the Caribbean.
Yeah. And they can do a bulk purchase, right? And buy antennas, because every time that there's a new technology, Telem has to reinvest that money.
They can't absorb.
They cannot.
No.
And even then, even if the technology is not finished, like we have the technology now, right? If there's a hurricane that passes and all the antennas get damaged, they got to go and buy new antennas.
Yeah.
Right. So if you can't do it well, then you shouldn't do it at all. Right. So I would sell the Telcel business, get the money from that, and then use that money to upgrade the Telem digital fiber infrastructure.
We're so proud here. It's our patrimony. We can't sell it.
Well, that's not something to be proud of.
We are suffering and paying for that suffering. Telem is done all the time. If I'm late by 1 day, they charge me $5 late fee. How come I can't charge them for being down 3-4 times a week? It's a rhetorical question.
No. It's funny though, because as you mentioned that, you see that thing I told you about the data center?
Yeah.
You know how much times, it's the law of 9, right? So if and if you work in a data center, you no one has 100% uptime, right? Like, oh, I'm up 100% of the time. You have like 99.9999, and you know how much nine? You have 9 nines behind there. That means like you can afford in your contract, your SLA, you can afford 20 minutes of downtime for the whole year. You know how many times they're down for an hour, like this data center place, if they have an hour of outage, anytime, I would call them and say, hey, you guys violated that. You owe us money. And they will pay us that money. Yeah. You can't really do that. Like, Telem is a monopoly, and they are protected by the government, right? And if they were not protected by the government, they would be out of business.
Well, I wouldn't say really monopoly because they have some other ISP.
You talking about Flow?
Yeah.
Well, no, but from what I remember, at some point, Flow was UTS, and the government owned part of Flow as well, 20%. I don't know if they still do that, but
I think it was a 12% share, whatever. But I think Flow holds the entire thing now.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then I will tell you right now, Flow does a better job at cellular service.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it's cheaper.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So if that's the case, and Telem can't compete with Flow, sell it. Sell specifically. Tell them, no, you need to figure that out. You need to okay, with the money that we sell Telcel, what are we going to do with that? Are we going to reinvest, or we want to sell Telem too as well, right?
But they still own the very important infrastructure, which is the landline. And I don't see them getting rid of that. It could be still used, so, you know.
Well, I wrote a letter 10 years ago, and that's what I suggested. Telem should be a company that maintains that infrastructure, right? And then you lease that line out to different ISPs. And then the customer will pay, let's say, an internet provider, and then they would also have let's say, a $5 fee or $10 fee going to Telem specifically for using that, and then also that money can be used to maintain it. And that, to me, can be a government-owned company because you don't want 15 companies digging up the roads to put on their own lines.
Definitely.
Right. So I would agree to that. But you have to stay in your lane. You have to know, can I do this? Can I maintain this forever? And the answer to me is no.
Exactly, I agree.
You don't have the money to do it, right? Yeah.
But I hope the politicians are watching and listening. It's so difficult. Now, when I said to the Prime Minister 2 weeks ago, sell Telem, there was a lot of excuses. So you sell something when it's good, or you sell something when it's bad. That's the point. The point is Telem is not working. It's not, and it's holding back this island. So you got to get rid of it. Oh,
so this is the thing here. When you say it's holding back this island, that is so true.
I didn't go into specifics because I don't want to offend people, but it's
yeah, it is holding back the island though. Like a lot of the businesses, a lot of the streaming, a lot of the gaming, a lot of that stuff that people could make money.
Yeah.
People make money playing video games now. Yeah. People make money from live streams. You can't do that here. Your streams are not strong enough. People will be complaining about you lagging the whole time.
Yeah.
So
it's a pity though. So when you look at your profession and the changes in IT, it's rapid.
Extremely fast. It's I mean right now I have this Fitbit on my hand, right? Yeah. And I will tell you that. This is a sensor that's on my skin. I'm pretty sure in another 15, 20 years, that's going to be in your body. Right? Yeah. You'll get an email telling you, hey, Oral, your cholesterol's high. You need to see a doctor as soon as possible, So that's why I see it's becoming more and more closer to the human body. And at some point, you're just going to have technology inside of you at some point.
Look how things have changed in broadcasting. We went from analog to digital. Mm-hmm. But then after digital, in here now, everything is on an IP address.
Oh, yeah.
Everything, the cameras, everything. And if I come in and I don't have that IP address or something like that, it's not going to work.
It won't. Internet of Things, right? That's basically what you're describing there, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to get more and more connected. I would tell you that right now. And if you don't have, and this is exactly why we talked about Telem, if you don't have that infrastructure, that backbone, you can get left behind. I think the leaders and the politicians need to understand that around you, our main industry is tourism. Sabre is competition, right? St. Eustatius is competition. I don't care if you think that St. Martin is a hub and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They will come here and then go to the other place and spend their money if you cannot keep up, right? And you need to realize that if it's a competition, you have to act like you're competing.
Exactly.
You can't act like, oh, well, this is my company and the people's patrimony. You can't make those type of platitudes. You have to act like I'm competing, right? And right now, Telcel is losing the competition. Like, I had a friend call me, right? And then 4 hours later, I get a missed call on my phone. I was like, are you kidding me?
Wow. No, I know it happened all the time with me too. I called my wife, and she said, you didn't call me. And then 4 or 5 hours later, she said, oh, it just popped up on my phone. It's crazy. It's just... So where do we go from here? Because economies of scale makes it very difficult for a company like TLM really to...
Yeah, that's why I suggested. That's why I suggested selling to a company like Digicel or even T-Mobile, because those companies are already scaling, right? And I would say Digicel is in a really, really good position because they provided telecom services to a region that's heavily impacted by hurricanes.
Yeah.
So they will be able to probably get you off the ground very quick after a hurricane, right?
They're the biggest thing in Haiti, huh? The biggest telecom company.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, Flow is another one that's very similar to Digicel as well.
They're also very big in Latin America.
Yeah. So for me, I don't see Telem being able to compete. I don't think that if I got a job there tomorrow, as CEO or whatever, or even if I went there as a technician, I could do anything to really help them, because they don't have the resources, right? It's just a moot point. I would rather tell you, hey, listen, and this is something even with regular companies, if I were to go there and then I said, okay, they tell me this is what you want to do. And I said, well, in order to accomplish this, you need to pay $100,000 in equipment, to get servers, you need to get, the right data center.
Servers are much more than that.
Yeah. So if I say you need $100,000 of equipment, and it's not even just the equipment, we spend more money on the warranty.
Yeah.
Because so the server breaks down, Dell has to come replace parts, right? So we need all this money. And if I hear you tell me that, no, you don't want to give me that money to do it, then you don't need me in the company, right? This is like me saying, hey, Aurelie, you have a chauffeur? You hired a chauffeur? And I'm like, do you have a car? No, I don't have a car. So what is he doing? Why did you hire a chauffeur? Right? So it's the same thing. I would not feel comfortable going and applying for Telem for that.
For a lot of people who are watching the show and not familiar with what you're doing, very briefly, just for an audience that have very little knowledge of this particular area, again, what you're doing.
What my job is?
Yeah.
So basically my job is to reduce downtime. That's the best way I would say it. I am there to make sure that our IT infrastructure at the business does not go down, right? That's basically what it is, that we have minimal outages.
If it goes down, they call you too.
Oh, if it goes down, I'm going to be the first one that knows. And if it's slow, I also hear about that as well. So, I'll give you this, right? I'll give you an example. The data center for the company is located near to an airport, right? So one of the risks is a plane could crash into that data center. And if a plane crashes into the data center, then our business is gone, right? $1 million business, millions of dollars of business is gone, right? Not only that, you end up by getting sued because a lot of our business is dealing with state contracts. So they're going to be like, we want this data and you don't have it.
Running all the time.
Yes, right? So what do we do to mitigate that risk? We have, that data center is in Raleigh. We have it replicating to Texas, far away. So in case something happens, we can switch and go back to the Texas one and keep our business afloat. When you hear Telem has all these outages and stuff, they don't have business continuity. They don't have to plan for the business falling apart because the government protects you from the business falling apart. If you had to do that type of planning, Telem would be out of business already. Right, because other people would come in and eat them for lunch. You know what I'm saying? Like all the customers would be gone. You know what I mean?
Eat them for breakfast.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like that's why I'm telling you, like when you look at Telem, and I've seen, honestly, I don't know if Dauphin or one of those companies on the French side, if they were opening up to allow other telecom providers to come along. I think that it would be over in a very short time.
Wow.
If they even allowed Starlink here, it would be over real quick.
Oh yeah. I got Talem back in 1979. It's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's a good while.
Yeah, and it was dial up at the time, and it was very frustrating. And I had a Mac, and it was for most people very difficult just to get that dial up and everything else. Today now we've come a long way, but still, as you said, and I agree, Talem, boy, I'm sorry. I hated to see. I would feel more proud of that company if it was managed better, but apparently, for most government-owned companies, it's not just the management that is the problem. The problem also have to do with the shareholder, in this case, the government, who sometimes intervene and put people in positions that are not capable, etc. So there's all problems that go beyond the company itself.
Yeah. I'm not surprised though, because like I know the Telem is a government-owned company, right? We've had this we have mentioned it a few times, and I know that there's a lot of bureaucracy behind the scenes that keeps Telem, from thriving. But even if, like, let's say you remove that bureaucracy, it just doesn't have the capital.
Still can't work.
Even if you did that, I mean,
it's too late now on the way.
Yeah, but it's funny, like Anguilla, who does their fiber? Digicel does their fiber over there. Sabre, that I mentioned, is $50 for 250. It's 250 megs. That's Satel. That's actually a government-owned company.
Right, yeah.
But I would think that they are. I think Sabre and St. Eustatius fall in a different category in the sense that they are municipalities, so they get more funding from the So we don't get the funding, so you gotta do something.
No, I agree, and we can't stay all the time talking about it. It has happened pretty fast right now. A decision got to have to be made, especially on Talem. Where do we go from here? How is the government going to maintain it or sell it, or 51%? But something needs to be done, because, as you say, that's it for it.
The thing is, though, when it comes to the government and those type of decisions, man, I think it's going to take them a long time.
Yeah, it's very slow.
Another 15 years at least.
Wow.
That's on the low side.
That's amazing.
But the problem is too, like, in 15 years, how much will technology go forward?
It's going to be amazing. Huh?
Yeah, it's going to go forward in 15 years even more, and that's the only thing I would say that maybe it won't take 15 years, because the problem will become more and more apparent quicker and quicker.
Look how the cellular phone has changed everything. Maybe you don't know this, but there was a company named Antelecom, and they used to operate Talem.
I don't know.
Other Curacao government. That time it was the Nelson Tilly's government.
Yeah.
And you had to go and pay $20 at the operator by the company for 3 minutes long distance call.
Damn.
And then you're waiting there, and the operator just interrupt your call and say, you got 1 minute to go. And they were very rude. You had to stand in line sometimes for 2 hours just to make that call and pay your $20. Look at it today.
Yeah.
You're walking with it in your hand. You don't need them anymore. And this same device, okay, the cellular phone, look what it did to photographs.
Oh.
Everybody got.
You don't have a separate device no more.
Yeah. So I can imagine what you said. 15 years from now, what's going to happen? 15
years from now, like, that's the thing though. I don't even think Telem has finished running fiber on the island, right? Because I know Dutch Quarter, I have a few friends there, they don't have access to Telem fiber. And I know that there are people I know personally who have Telem fiber, who have just decided to cut that and go with Starlink.
Well, yeah, a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, so, but here's the thing, right? You said earlier that Telem says they're only getting complaints from you. Right, something like that.
That was a little exaggeration, but I know other people do complain about that.
They're not gonna tell you that.
Yeah,
they're not gonna say that. They're gonna say you are the issue, right? Yeah. But here's the thing, right? I don't think that is true, because if you were so great, people wouldn't be going to Starlink now, would they? Because Starlink is not a cheap service, right? There is an upfront cost of buying the equipment, which is $400, right? And then the bill is like $70 or $80 a month, right? So, I mean, the added benefit with Starlink is that if there's a hurricane and you go grab my antenna, put it in my house,
right,
hurricane pass, and then come put it back out, right. So that's like something that's kind of really good for us, you know, as a country. But you know, that's of course if we have power, because GB, you know, is also in its own straits.
Wow.
But GB is like, I don't really want to talk too much about GB, but I would say that GB has a lot of the same problems that Telem does. Right. And I can't tell you the same solution, which is sell GB. I would never tell you that. I would say that GB needs to work on load balancing, right? We are in a very unique position on this island, right? Compared to other countries, right? Like Sabre doesn't have 2 power plants. Synchronization doesn't have 2 power plants. Anguilla doesn't have 2 power plants. St. Martin has 2 power plants. There's one on the French side, right? Are we leveraging that? Do we have an agreement that if we have, you know, a power outage, we can get some power from the French side? I don't think so, right? I've never heard of such an agreement. They probably had one long ago before, because I'm not 100 years old. I don't know all the history, right? But they're not leveraging that. There's no legislation in place for to, like, if a bunch of people have solar on their house, to give that power to the grid. Right, that's all load balancing and load shedding. Like, they're load shedding now, but you don't have enough capacity to supply the island. You need, suppose one of those big generators have a problem, and I think more than one have a problem now. How do you address that? Continuity planning, right? Okay, if anything happens, we can rely on the French side. We can buy some power from them for the time being. That the idea that power is not being delivered, that's not a solution. Power always has to be delivered. So your solution would be, how do we do that? We get some from the French side. We do load balancing. We did some legislation. We get more people to adapt solar so they can feed, so that less of the load is taken off of the power plant. Those are some ways, right? I would never tell them to sell GB, because that's I think whoever buys GB will be in a really powerful position to, like, take advantage of the people of St. Martin. You know,
it's possible, because although it's a real monopoly, that is going to change, and technology is going to make that change too. Because solar, renewable energy is coming, the price is coming down, and there's a lot of things that I can say, but I'm not going to say here right now about GBE. A lot of people are going to be surprised. Remember what I told you about this? Okay. 15, 20 years from now, a lot of people won't even be on GBE.
I'm not surprised, because I will tell you that I personally have had solar panels on my house, and it's night and day. The only thing I had to pay for was like $16 to keep connected to the grid, so I could have power at night. But the only reason I had that was because batteries at the time were really expensive. But that is also coming down, so I can, like, if I wanted to, put a battery bank in my garage somewhere, and then be completely off the grid in that case, right? And the same thing is applying to here now.
So all these monopolies, they're losing their monopolistic power, and they make investments in the tens of millions of dollars, and then down the road it becomes difficult for them to service that loan. And that's going to happen to GB also, because again, like TLM, they allow a lot of things to go wrong because of the influence of forces outside the company, in this case the government. So every monopoly that's around right now, especially in the power generation part, they got to be careful, because gradually, again, I point this out for a lot of people, this has become a very powerful tool, phone in people's hands. So when you have people who can run their own home off the grid, and it's coming more and more and more, what you going to do? You see my point?
So I would even say a good example is California, right? Because right now California has such a surplus in energy that they have to get rid of it, because they have solar, right? And then the solar is being stored in batteries and it's not being used enough.
Exactly.
And imagine if that happens, how cheap power becomes, because you have a surplus of power.
Exactly.
Right. So St. Martin, we should not have power issues just based on our location. We have more sun down here, and we should not have these issues.
I know. I tell you, we're gonna leave that for another interview because again, that is
For sure.
you gotta understand one thing. It's a government-owned company, and politicians decide, not management.
Okay.
And I've never said it like this before. Politicians decide, not management. It should be just the other way around. You have management there that is competent to do the job. Let them do the job. Don't get in their way for political reasons.
Yeah.
As long as that happens, we're gonna have the problem what we have today of TLM and GED.
Yeah. For sure.
So what's next for you? We're almost out of time, so what next?
well, for me, it's right now I'm just trying to make the most of being home. So a lot of it is just physical activity and just enjoying home. I also am working on some certifications for IT, cloud computing.
Oh, that's the other big thing. Huh?
Microsoft Azure is the one I'm working on right now as well.
Okay.
So that's really what's next. I want to thank you for having me in this interview.
You're
and stuff
welcome.
like that.
Good to have you. And you know that Amazon makes its money from cloud computing.
Oh, for sure.
Not from selling the goods that they sell to people.
No, like Amazon and Microsoft have that's where they're making the money. No, for sure. Google as well.
Yeah.
Their cloud computing as well.
Well, Mr. Juman, I want to thank you. Wish you much success. You're a very interesting young man, intelligent. You have your head on your shoulders the right way. I can see you going many good places.
Thank you so much, Oro. Thank you for having me as well.
All right, all the best to you. And that's it for now. And speaking of everything on YouTube, Facebook, and on Hot 99.9 FM radio. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.